Good morning.
I know you want to talk about Dennis for a second, but earlier this week, we all got our flu shots.
Absolutely.
There was a story this morning that 52% of millennials will not get their flu shot. What do you think?
Does that surprise you?
Well, we said millennials should think more like us, and they should all get their flu shots. Do you agree?
I think that there should be a little more awareness around the potential seriousness of the flu. We take a lot of things for granted.
Right.
And we kind of, I think even you and I, McGraw, can remember back to the days where we didn't think that things like that were that big a deal.
Right.
So I can understand the thinking.
Yeah, I do too, because when I was a kid or college or whatever else, you heard somebody said, the only time I got a flu was after I got a flu shot. And it was a joke.
Right. There you go.
And it sort of propagated itself, and so that sort of becomes conventional wisdom.
That is one of the big rumors around about the flu shot giving you the flu. Certainly there are some side effects to getting the injection. You guys know you got your injection. There's soreness around where you got it, and you might feel a little bit run down for a few hours or a day. That's not the flu.
Right.
The flu actually is really bad. And a few years ago, we had a terrible flu season. Every single hospital in this region was filled. And, of course, it affects the young and the very old to the highest amounts. But the millennials in that age group are not immune and can get very, very sick, need to be hospitalized, and potentially could die from it.
And so they should get the flu shot. Isn't that right, Kay? Yes, we all got the flu shot. All right, good.
There you go.
I went and got a root canal a couple weeks ago from Dr. Bowen, and he gave me a blood pressure test.
There you go.
What was going on there?
So, blood pressure is totally silent. And as we sit here today, we have no knowledge of what our blood pressures are right now. And that's the case probably for everybody on every single day. But it turns out that there's a fair number of people who have really high blood pressure. And they used to call it, and this was the moniker, as the silent killer. That kind of fell off because it's pretty dramatic.
Right.
But the silent part still, I think, reigns true, is we don't really know what our blood pressures are. And if we let them be high and stay high for a prolonged amount of time, it does translate into really bad things like stroke and heart attack and not living as long. So what has been done, this study we're talking about actually is being done in Baltimore, where dental offices are going to start measuring blood pressures. Other things have been done and other initiatives have been taken on where other places, non-traditional doctors' offices, have taken it upon themselves to measure blood pressures. In the African-American community, barbershops. Some have taken on the concept of measuring blood pressure, because the barbershop is the quintessential piece to what happens in the community, and people will go there.
Right.
And people will go there and they'll get their blood pressure checked. And in that way, we can keep track of folks' blood pressure way better. And we can find people who are at risk for having those blood pressure-related issues before they're afflicted by the actual problem.
Is it partly getting your blood pressure checked at the dental office is because not only some of the things that they use can raise your blood pressure, or some of the medicines, or some for the procedures that they're having?
Yeah, you might think that. I think the main reason is to try to increase the ability to catch people with high blood pressure. So we're just trying to get it out, as far as the medical community goes, got to get it out of the traditional doctor's office visit.
So if somebody is a barber and they give a blood pressure, they say, "Whoa, this is high. You should go see someone." So it's just the knowledge of it?
Yeah, and that would be the great thing to say. They don't have to know how to treat it. They know, what when we're looking for blood pressures that are high, those numbers are pretty obvious. And we can talk about it. A lot of times you'll find a middle-aged man in their 40s or 50s, and their blood pressure will be 190 over 100. These are really high numbers. That person likely has not felt anything different whatsoever. Like, oh my God, that can't be right. And so what has happened is we've left this to the traditional doctor's office, and then we come up with this, even though this is what I wear in the doctor's office, they come up with this concept of white coat hypertension, right? So the doctor comes in, and all of a sudden you freak out,
right? Kind
of what you're alluding to. And so if you put it in more benign settings, maybe the dentist office isn't a more benign setting, but certainly the barbershop is,
right.
You get this figure out what the real blood pressure is, and those numbers are too high. We want blood pressure readings that look more like 130 over 80 or less. Those should be the top numbers. Numbers above that are elevated and should get checked out.
What about your heart rate? What should your resting heart rate be?
Yeah, so the heart rate connection between, say, a stroke or a heart attack is looser. There's a recent study which came out this week that said, resting heart rate in African Americans, the higher it is, the shorter they're going to live. But there's no absolute cutoff. If your resting heart rate is 82 or higher,
right.
That creates. There's no exact cutoff, and so there are more specific cutoffs for blood pressure, and there are specific treatments, medications, and diet that will lower those blood pressures. And when we lower those blood pressures, those risks go away.
But the heart rate, just the lower the better.
Well, the heart rate getting lower a lot of times is related to how good in physical shape are you in. If you are in good physical shape, your heart, which is an engine, basically gets better gas mileage. And so it doesn't need to work as hard.
Right.
And so it doesn't need to generate as many RPMs. And so you can get away with heart rates that are in the 40s or 50s. When you're not as in good a shape, your resting heart rate's going to be higher. And then if you do very little activity, it will jump much, much higher over resting heart rate. So even if your resting heart rate's 70, if you just walk across the room here and your heart rate goes to 95, that's not a good sign.
So get your blood pressure checked and get your flu shot.
Yes.
And get in shape.
Yeah. Get off the couch.
Physical activity is good.
Don't sit on your brains and talk for 4 hours a day. Go out and do something.
And get Jimmy to wear his Michigan hat. He reneged. Jimmy was all excited about the Wisconsin Badgers last week.
Yes.
And they came in Ann Arbor and played a great game.
Yes.
But they did not come away victorious. And he chose to wear his Mizzou hat, which is great for the local fans here.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Mizzou didn't do as well.
Well, it's nice that the schedulers have avoided Nebraska this year for Michigan. Maybe they'll see him in the Big Ten championship.
They had trouble with Illinois. So
well, that's it was a trap game. Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist with SLU Healthcare. 826 here, Big 550 KTRS. Let me tell you.